Hello, my kittens. If you are actually here watching this, you might be curious who I am and why this channel exists. I am our cat's gay. I'm a geeky, rambling nurse in his early 30s. I grew up very religious, and although I no longer feel that way at all, I understand the Christian mind. I like to talk about thoughts and things, even when they get disturbing or weird. I try to be open-minded, and although I have no issue changing my mind when shown good reason to do so, I am not afraid of laying out stark truth as I understand it. That brings us to the main reason this channel exists, for me to share an uncommon and honestly taboo perspective amongst gay men, that being that the broader LGBT community is no longer aligned with gay men's interests. Now, before you run screaming into the night with a blinding terror that you have been contaminated by some kind of radioactive alt-right brain tumor and must flagellate yourself with a copy of the Huffington Post for even being near me, you should know that I am not, for what it matters, or even means these days, a conservative. Most of my life, I was a self-identified liberal, as is the de facto obligation of most gay men, at least here in California. Don't leave, we're not all crazy. Growing up a multi-generational Democrat who watched CNN and listened to NPR. When Trump was elected, I literally entered a deep depression, stating publicly I no longer had a country. It took a few months, but now I chuckle at myself, because while I can't say that I like Donald Trump, I think he's excessively brash, spends way too much time on Twitter, and doesn't seem at all interested in depolarizing the hyper-partisanship that is literally tearing our country apart. And Jeff Sessions, the weed-hating Keebler elf of the South. What the literal I must stress that I've been deeply turned off by the resist movement. Trump is apparently a racist, and although there's no direct or convincing evidence, he's apparently worse than Hitler. I guess hyperbole isn't a thing anymore. That got old really quick. But honestly, even worse and more radicalizing for me was Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Now, I'm going to say right now that yes, I'm aware they are far left and not representative of liberalism at all, really. However, the fact that most major news outlets, or even left-leaning politicians, can't be bothered to denounce the excesses of these movements, beating people, setting on fire, calling everyone even slightly right of Bill Clinton an actual Nazi, is just infuriating. Again, not a conservative, and I'm saying that to be precise, not to virtue sign or whatever, but free speech isn't free if it's selectively applied. Punch a Nazi is an awful idea for a free society, and it's the soy equivalent to Sharia. All of this has been pushing me to the center, which I consider more of a lateral move than a swing to the right, but whatever. Once I arrived, or realized I was already in the center, I began to intensely question a lot of my foundational beliefs, because however obvious it might be to many people, especially now, I learned for myself I couldn't trust the mainstream media to be objective. Truth bomb, right? My personal red pill moment, are we still saying that? Or has it become cringe now? Was when Grindr caved to trans activists and added
other gender identities
on an M4M hookup app to be more inclusive.
For those of you who don't know, there is an outside perception that LGBT is a big happy family where gays, lesbians, bisexuals, and transsexuals all coexist in gay Valinor. That isn't remotely true. It's more like the former Yugoslavia, or any number of African nations of warring tribes that were forced together by aggressive foreign powers long gone, and now vie for power and control. And honestly, this thing with Grindr was illustrating well enough, even for heteros, to see that plainly. I just couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my phone, because it totally wasn't always right next to me anyway. Made an avatar, as I had already learned that expressing oneself on Facebook openly was a great way to lose friends and possibly jobs, and uploaded my first YouTube video. Then under a different name, Grindr has fallen. It's been an amazing journey since then. One of my idols, Prince of Queens, watched the video after I spammed one of his, and we talked. a lot, and with helpful advice and shoutouts from him and my loyal early viewers, Our Cat's Gay was born. So here I am, and here you are. My early videos are, admittedly, lower quality, being phone-made and all, but now I have learned semi-professional desktop editing software and have a considerably better microphone. The channel is growing very quickly, thanks to the many wonderful people that I've met in these few months. I don't aim to offend people, usually, but I do not typically mince words, and there are no cows so sacred that I will not slay them. I have dabbled with skeptical content, doing reaction videos to articles and such. Even a Riley Dennis video. That one, it hurt. But my most popular videos have been when I talk about issues closest to my heart, which brings us back to why this channel exists. I am a GIGTOW, which stands for Gays Going Their Own Way. I semi-coined this term that is obviously inspired by MGTOW, Men Going Their Own Way. At this point in my life, I am largely focusing on men's advocacy, both hetero, homo, and bisexual, because I truly believe that society is not only built on men's backs, but their inherent disposability. Even in the former gay, now turned LGBTQ+ community, men are generally viewed as garbage. University classes and the internet are overflowing with gender theorists/activists who will eagerly tell you how misogynistic, problematic, and privileged gay cisgendered men. My god, I hate that word so much. I only use it here under protest to clarify what I'm talking about, but generally I just say normal, sorry, not sorry, are, especially if they are white. I reject most, if not all, tenets of feminism. Actual, political feminism, not the watered down,
To me, feminism is
that people with no real knowledge of what's happening in our universities and in the dark political corners of the world where decisions are actually made is. Most clearly, I'm telling you, there is no patriarchy. There is no rape culture in the West, unless you count the refugee no-go zones in Sweden and Western Europe. Outside of those horrific enclaves, rape culture just isn't a thing in liberal Western democracies, unless you stretch the meaning of the word rape to include almost all interactions between men and women. Anyone remember Rose McGowan before she became a bargain bin Ripley when she complained of eye rape on the red carpet when she wore that thing? Yeah. Rose, the only eye rape that was there was for us when you wore that. Oh god, I'm so glad I'm gay. Rape culture is real in Africa and the Middle East. I'm especially looking at you, Somalia. But no one wants to say that because it's either problematic, racist, or, and more honestly, far away and boring to us here in the West. That's why I think #MeToo is vaginal McCarthyism. So yeah, that's largely what I'm about. If you're here, you probably either already are as well, or you have questions and want to make up your own mind. Good for you. If you're watching this and it makes you want to scream obscenities at me, that's also fine. Let's talk about it. I've been wrong before, and I'm not afraid of defending myself or even changing my views if you have a good enough argument. Lastly, although the meat of my content is from here on mostly going to be along these lines, I reserve the right to wander. For instance, I am developing a podcast with another YouTuber that I adore, and that will largely be nothing like this, but rather free-form, philosophical, inappropriate, and hopefully funny conversations. That's it for now. If this sounds interesting to you, stick around. And hit that bell so you know when I'm doing something. Follow me on Twitter, comment, and use that discussion tab. I check it frequently. This has been Our Cat's Gay. Like, subscribe, love it, hate it, you already watched it, you can't unwatch it. Thank you for watching.